Hello. Hello. How are you guys this morning? I'm doing stuff, but I don't know what I'm doing. I think I got it. Good morning. Hello, Louise. How are you? I have my coffee. Hey, Brent. Oh, I hope that you are either in Minnesota getting some rain, unlike us, or that you have the nice weather too. We are so dry over here. And it's kind of hit and miss, I think, in Minnesota. Well, we're dry right here. We never get any rain. Good morning, Jeremy. Hershey, Pennsylvania. Nice. How is PA? I had a client from PA yesterday. Hey, Darcy. Hey, Michael. Thank you. I have not heard about the Life Without the Bank book, so that is good. Excuse me. That is good to hear some feedback. And I know, Michael, I know you would be honest, and you're not going to lie to me. Good morning, Chandy. How are you? How is Montana? Oh my gosh, that's awesome. 3/4 of an inch, Brent? That's fantastic. We had sprinkles yesterday. I'm like, I looked to the east and I told my husband, oh, they're getting some rain. And he said, yeah, it missed us again and went around us. We call it the Bismarck Bubble, and that it like comes from the west, completely goes around Bismarck and goes east. Apparently, the weather people are actually investigating it now. Because we had like 5 inches of rain last year, I heard. And so, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Anyway, okay, you guys, we have a lot of meetings. I had a lot of meetings this week. And so, let's get started. But before we do that, for those of you that are either new to Farming Without the Bank or new to the Without the Bank page, because this is actually on both pages. So if you are new to those pages and you don't know who I am Mary Jo, and I am the author of Farming Without the Bank and Life Without the Bank. And yes, we are here to teach the infinite banking concept. I've had that question a lot, which is fantastic because that means people are hearing about the infinite banking concept. And so I am going to go over weekly meetings that I have. I do this every week. I go over all the clients that I talk to in a week just to give you guys an idea of, one, what kind of clients do I have, and two, what are we doing with them. So feel free to ask questions, feel free to comment, feel free to say hello, because it's social media, so we should be social. Okay, let's get started. First off, I had, this is always very interesting to me. I have a young couple with 7 children, and they are milking. They're milking on cash. They are not, she obviously does not have an off the farm job because they have 7 kiddos. And so they're using cash to operate. They do not have an operating note. He was gifted the farmstead. Okay, so he was gifted some land, but he had to build a barn. He had a little barn lean-to thing basically fall apart the way it sounds in some snow. And so he has to start over and he has to rebuild that. And they haven't done that yet. But they have been, they have very little debt. They've been very good about making sure that their debt is in check to the point that she is overpaying on debt $2,000 a month. And that's the majority. Obviously, there are some months that they can't do that, but that's the majority. So here's the thing I find is that families, and this is kind of a universal thing, families that have a lot of kids, because I have clients with 7, 8, 9 kids all the time. Clients with a lot of kids are super frugal. Super frugal. The majority of those people do not have a lot of loans. They are very conservative. And they were laughing when they said they were overpaying on debt because he's listened to all the podcasts. They've read the book, right? And they knew that they should not be overpaying on debt. Well, and that's okay if you are. That's what we're told to do. However, what they were doing is they were overpaying on every debt instead of just paying one debt. So let me give you a little bit of Dave Ramsey advice. For those of you that think that I absolutely hate Dave Ramsey, I don't. There are things that he teaches that are fantastic, and there are things he teaches that I'm not going to teach, which is one of these things. Is he right about life insurance? No, he's not. But beside that, he's got some good things that he's teaching people to do with money. And so they were putting a little bit to every loan. If you are not familiar with the Debt Snowball, Dave and other gurus teach this Debt Snowball. So ideally, if we're trying to get something paid off faster, we take the extra money and we put it towards one of those payments, whichever, and it's not even higher interest. It's the one that's going to get paid off the fastest. So we put the extra one to the one that's going to get paid off the fastest, and then we take that payment with the extra and we apply it to the next one. Then we pay that one off and we take those two payments with the extra and we apply it to the next one. And that is going to get things paid off faster versus just putting a little bit to each loan. And so that's what they were doing, a little bit to each loan, which was great. She's overpaying. Can we do something better with that money? Yes, we sure can. And they knew exactly what that suggestion was going to be, right? Take some of that money, start the infinite banking concept. But the question really was, okay, so I've got the extra money. How do I start how do I use the policy? And this is a question I have gotten a lot, and I just assume that people know it, but we don't know it because we are so taught to say somebody's going to tell us what we can use our money on and if we can have the money and how we're going to pay it back. So if you have an infinite banking policy, when you start the concept, you get to use your money for whatever you want. There is no right. There is no wrong. It's your money. You get to use it. And so for him, it was, well, okay, we had a barn that collapsed. That is causing us to lose more calves because we're calving in the winter and we don't have the facility for them. So if they live, was what he said, if they live, I was like, whoa, how much money are we leaving on the table without having that barn? And so we looked at the policy and said, okay, this is how much we're going to need to rebuild. We're going to have that in 4 or 5 years, depending on how much money we put in. Okay, so let's say it was $80,000. And I think that's how much they would have in 5 years. So in 5 years, we have $80,000. But what do we do for the next 5 years? Are we going to have cattle? Are we going to buy more milk cows? If we are, then we can borrow from the policy and pay it back. And borrow from the policy and pay it back. And so by year 5, we still have what we need for the barn. So there's no right or wrong for what you need to use the money for. I don't care if you want to buy vehicles. Right? A lot of people will say, well, you shouldn't borrow the money unless it's a cash flow asset. Well, I don't totally agree with that. Yes, that's ideal, but it's even if it's not a cash free asset, if we want to be able to buy things and not have to go to the bank, then just do that. And so for them, it was really strategizing. Okay, I know where to find the money because they have the money, but how do I put it in? What does that look like? What do I borrow that money for? Right? Even if she wants to go on vacation, it doesn't matter. They even had a large savings so that if something bad happened, they were still able to have some cash on hand. And he had a loan on cattle. And I said, well, you have a loan on cattle, but you have the money in savings. The loan on the cows is 4.5 or something. Savings isn't paying you 4.5. No, I don't want you to go drain savings to pay off the cattle. But think about that next time that we have a smaller loan. Same thing for you guys. Think about it. Next time you have a small loan and you have the money in savings, why don't you just pay off the loan? Because you're probably not making that as a savings interest rate. And don't go drain your savings and leave you with nothing. But why are we paying the bank interest? Or we went and took a loan and they gave us the exact same money we have in our savings account as a loan. Because they just lend out our money. The bank doesn't have its own money. We put money there so they can lend money. So don't sit on like $100,000 in savings and then you've got, a $30,000 vehicle loan, or you've got a $30,000 cattle loan, or you've got a $30,000 business loan. It doesn't matter. What is the point of that? Pay yourself back and we don't have to worry about not having it. Now, if you're going to need that 100 for something else, that's a different story, right? Because there's all these scenarios, which is why we meet and we talk about what's happening. Because there's everybody has a different scenario of what's going to come into play. However, overpaying on bills, if you're going to do that and you're not going to implement the concept, do the debt snowball. Google it. There's all kinds of information. Hi, Tina. All right, next guy had a trucking company and he has farming. So he's got cattle and I think he was doing some cropland as well. But he had a trucking company as well. So when I send an email, I say, hey, I'm going to need your total expenses, what your gross income was. I want to see what you've got for a line of credit. I want to know what your loans are. And so because he is got them both as separate entities, he did not have the trucking information, which was not a big deal. But he said, oh, I didn't know you would go over that. So just a forewarning, I am going to go over that. Everything that you own, I want to know what's happening. And the reason why is because is the trucking company providing income to the farm? And if it is the farm paying the trucking company back? Or are we just constantly putting money from the trucking company to the farm and floating the farm? And the farm's not paying for itself. So a lot of people think, well, Mary Jo's just going to go over my farm. No. If you're involved in it, I want to know what it is. Every aspect of what you do. That 1.5 hour meeting, typically the first hour is me asking questions and getting to know what's happening with you. So don't think that, oh, she's not going to have time for that or she's not going to care about that. I do care about it and I have made time for it. So we figured it out. It was all good. But what he's doing, he too doesn't really have a whole lot of, I don't even think he had a line of credit. Everything was cash. But what he's doing is he's replacing semis and trailers every 8 to 10 years. He does not need to. He's doing that because it's nice to have a new semi or it's nice to have a new trailer and he needs a tax write-off. So we're going to spend $100,000 to save $20,000 or $30,000? Could have we just paid the taxes on the 20 or 30 and then we could have taken the 70 to 80 and used it for operating, used it to build our system, right? To start the infinite banking concept, capitalize that. Then we have enough in the policy to borrow to buy his new piece of equipment. So even if, now he has like 15 trailers. He's not small potatoes. I mean, to me, that's a big trucking operation. He has 10 semis and like 15 trailers or something. And so what if, you can still replace them, but what if instead of replacing something every 4 years, because that's the rotation he's on, what if we replace every 5? Or we still replace every 4, but we don't replace as much stuff every 4. So now we still keep some of that money, and we're not maybe so aggressive about it. Nelson has a trucking example in his book, Becoming Your Own Banker. So for those of you that are new, Becoming Your Own Banker is written by R. Nelson Nash. He's the founder of the concept. In this book, he has a trucking example. So it was, this gentleman did not read that, but it's the same thing with farmers. Do we need to replace that equipment? And I say need. Do we need to replace that equipment, or do we want to replace that equipment? Because if we need to, that's different. If we want to, just to save taxes, I have a whole podcast on that, you guys. It's not saving us as much as one would think. Because if we spend $100,000 and you are in a 12% tax bracket, you spent $100 to save $12,000. What are you going to do with the other $88,000? You could have just paid the 12, not had a loan for the 100, or if you spent cash, you could have had the extra money in hand to operate with next year, to start a policy with, to get away from this banking system. I talk about it in my books. Nelson talks about it in his books. Parkinson's Law. It is a luxury once enjoyed becomes a necessity, and our needs rise to meet our income. It's a real thing. And if we can beat Parkinson's Law just a little bit even, can we have enough to start a policy to start the system to get away from the banks? Can we do that? We just have to give up a little something possibly. In some instances, right? Not everybody. The first couple didn't have to give up anything because they were already super frugal. I get wanting a new semi. I get it. I get wanting a new trailer. You are in those things all the time. It represents your business. I am a little bit probably abnormal. When I notice cars and I notice semis. It's kind of my thing. Oh, look, they changed their body style on, like Dodge changed their body style. Big deal, right? So-and-so hasn't changed their body style. Look at that semi. Oh, that's clean. That's chromed out. That's whatever. So I notice those things. If you have a business and you have a fleet of vehicles, let me tell you, I will be the first one to comment and say, why can't UPS clean their vehicles every night? I don't care that they're going on gravel roads again tomorrow. That looks terrible. It's a terrible representation of your company. If you have a commercial business and your vehicles are, rusted out, they're not clean. I had a HVAC guy come to the house one day. Super nice people. I called them locally because they had the same last name as some of our family. And I'm like, oh, we're probably related, right? So I call them and they show up in a van that looks like a child molester van. The windshield's all cracked. There's no logo on the side. It's all rusted out. It's white. And I thought, oh my God, who's here? Like, I hope this is my HVAC guy because that's kind of a freaky van. And yep, it was my HVAC guy. They're super frugal, right? They didn't charge me a whole lot, but I would have been happy to pay them more so they could at least put a logo on the side of their van. So I get having a trucking company and wanting those trucks to be nice, wanting them to be clean, wanting your trailers to be nice and clean. It is a representation of your business. No questions, hands down. But if we could get one more year out of every truck, one more year out of every trailer, Would that be a big deal? Just postpone upgrading for a year. I think that would be a big deal. Hey, Caleb. Hey, Shane. Hi, Brandy. You are late this morning. I was wondering where you were. Okay, and then I had another couple that, well, they're not a couple. They're a brother and a sister. But this was actually really fun to listen to because they are so building everything together. Like, they're on the same wavelength. They've got business ideas together, and he's got a couple businesses, and he's actually kind of floating the farm. Mom and Dad didn't do so well on the farm. They also had a dairy that was going downhill, and they just got out. They were offered a great deal, and they got out while they could. So he's got two businesses. He's making a fair amount of money, and he's got some loans that, he's buying things for the business. So he's and the farm, and he's, doing all kinds of side things so he can make more money. She's got like some hobby goats that are fainting goats. Oh my gosh, that was so fun to learn about. And then they've got some property rentals that they're doing, and they're really looking at the whole rental avenue. And so some farming, but the majority of it is, where do we get started so that we can buy property from family? When family passes away, we have the ability to buy those rentals because some of their family is already doing rental stuff. There is already one member of the family that we know is greedy, and so we are preparing to be able to buy that person out or be able to save what we have just in case when, the elder person dies, they come in as the vulture and want to take everything. And so they're being super, super smart as young people to say, we need to protect it. This is what we want to do. And they are full force in. So the one thing that was, besides the fainting goats, so let's talk about fainting goats. It's funny, right? We see them all on YouTube. We see them all. I see videos of these goats all the time, and they're funny, and they're cute, and they like jump around, and they and they do their thing. But her brother said they faint when they get excited. So when they go out to feed them, her brother said it's like parting the sea. You come out, they're so excited, and they all just fall down. I think it's awesome. And she said, yes, except when you try to breed them and they faint because they're so excited. Now, I'm not sure how that gets accomplished. She said she does have to talk to them. I don't know if she was serious or not. Oh my God, it was so funny. It's funny. So anyway, let me look at my notes. Oh, the thing that happened here is she said, I talked to another agent who's not local, not a friend, didn't really know him, and said, I want a whole life insurance policy. And the agent said, no, you don't need one because you don't have enough money in savings. And so you don't need one. We need to just do term insurance on you. And she said, well, I was hoping that he could be on the call today and hear from you what he has to learn. So first of all, that was very nice of her to want to include him. But I am not in the business of teaching agents that don't take the steps to do things on their own, right? She told him what she wanted, shared the book with him, and this happens all the time. Agents will say, oh, that's awesome. I would love to learn from you. Have you read Nelson's book? Nope. Have you looked to becoming a practitioner? Nope. Okay. If you've only read this book or you've only read this book, no, I'm not helping you. It's that plain and simple. Because guess what? I read this one along with 5 other books, because that's all there were at the time. 5 other books before I even asked for help. Put some time and effort in. People go, oh, what is it to be a practitioner? What does that mean? Google it. Go to the Nelson Nash Institute and Google it. This gentleman clearly did not get it. And telling her that, oh, you know what? You don't need to do this now. Does she have an exponential amount of cash? No. But she lives in a house that was given to her, kind of, by her folks, and her brother pays the rent because he lives there. So he actually pays the house payment for her. So she's making a decent amount of money a year and really just has some living expenses and a couple loans. What do you mean she can't afford it? She just got done paying off a car. That was $400 a month. She's like, why can't I use that money? She got it, but he didn't get it, and he refuses to give her a whole life insurance policy. So I'm not going to take my time to teach somebody like that. But she and her brother are smart enough to understand, I am not waiting 2 years. I want this now because I have the money now to do it. We don't have to start with a $50,000 policy, and they got that. We can start with 5, 6, 7, 8,000 for them and get the thing rolling, and they can just add more later. But they're like, why would anybody wait to get started? Right? Because I have clients that it takes them years to make that decision. Everybody makes a decision at a different rate. Doesn't matter to me. But these guys are like, let's go. We're ready to get started. I don't want to wait. I've already lost 10 years not knowing this. So that was fun along with the goats. But just know, if your agent wants me to teach them, that's not what I'm in the business for. I'm in the business to help the client and possibly help agents that show an effort to learn the concept. Otherwise, I don't have time for that business. Okay. Tina, Nelson, that's a good question. Tina is asking, what are the books that I read besides mine and Nelson? Well, I didn't read mine because it didn't exist. I read Nelson's, and then he has Warehouse of Wealth as well. So you're going to want to read Warehouse of Wealth. There is How Privatized Banking Really Works by Carlos Lara and Robert Murphy. Dwayne Burnell has a couple of books that are, I'm assuming that they're still being printed. I have not had those in a while, but those books were amazing as well. Those are Financial Independence in the 21st Century, and I forget what the other one is, Tina. Just type in Dwayne Burnell. If you find Financial Independence in the 21st Century, you'll find that one. So I read those two, How Privatized Banking Works, and both the Nelsons. So those were the 5 that I read. There are a lot of books on the infinite banking concept right now. A lot of books compared to when I started 11 years ago. There was basically nothing. And there was even nothing online. And so it was much harder to get started. A lot of people have podcasts now, so there's podcasts to listen to on the concept as well. Good morning, Jim. All right, then I have another client who came back to farm with her dad. 15 years of being gone, her dad said, I think I'm ready to quit. And so she came back to farm with him. The thing that is fun in that conversation is she was doing some cover crops, so dad is a little bit nervous about cover crops, but they hire out their combining. She has a lot of, she just teams up with the neighbors and says, you know what, I don't need these equipment costs. And let me tell you, she's making money. She has very few, she just has 1 or 2 loans, and she's making money because she doesn't have all these loans. Dad's equipment sounds like it's too old to really be useful. They use it if they have to, but she is going to hire the majority of what she can. She's going to hire it out so she doesn't have to have the tractor payment, the combine payment, the swather payment, the baler payment, right? Why? If you can hire somebody to custom do it cheaper than what your payment would be, cheaper than what your repairs are going to be. And it's just her. And, dad helps as well, but it's basically just her. And so she's one person. She doesn't have time to do it all. So why not just hire some of it out? That is something that I really, really, I talk about it a lot. but I really want to just ingrain that into you guys. When you buy equipment, who's making money? Case IH, John Deere, and the bank or financial companies, right? Those are the people making money because everybody thinks that they need to have their own piece of equipment. If you are not operating at a big enough scale to have your own piece of equipment, don't. Just find somebody to hire. Which brings me to the next guy that I talked to. He had 18 loans, and his mom was in on the meeting because she does all his books, and he said, yeah, I'm making mom nervous. When I got done with his loans, I was like, you are making me nervous. That is a lot of loans. And granted, he's going to have a lot of those loans paid for by the end of 2022, but it's a lot of loans. And he's making money. It's not that he's not making money. And he said to me, and I love this comment, he farms his own stuff. He does a lot of custom work along with other business ventures that he's in. And he said, I don't pay for my equipment. My farm does not pay for my equipment. My custom work makes my payments. If I don't have enough custom work to make the payment, I go find more custom work. So if we do have a payment, if we buy a tractor, a baler, a combine, a seeder, a sprayer, whatever it is you're buying, can that be paid for by somebody else in doing that work? It's no different if you own an excavation company. Because I have had a lot of clients over the years that have excavating companies because they have the equipment to farm with. So why wouldn't I just go do some dirt work as well? Right? I've got the loader, I've got the backhoe, I've got everything that an excavation company is going to need. So why not use that equipment to help somebody else in need? The people that are doing that are doing well because their farm is not having to just pay for all this equipment. Now, he and I had this very same conversation that I had with the trucker. Do you need to upgrade? He's like, well, I need to upgrade the silage chopper. So here's another thing that he does is he chops silage. And if somebody doesn't want, if they're just going to leave their corn stalks there, he's like, well, I'll come in. I'll buy them from you. So he goes in, he chops them, he bales them, and he sells the hay. That guy wasn't going to do it, right? So he sees an opportunity and he takes it. Instead of saying, oh, you know what, I'm done farming for the year, we're good. No. He takes the opportunity. And so his parents actually work for him because they didn't farm. They couldn't in the 80s. It wasn't sustainable for them. So another operation that skipped a generation. Absolutely awesome that he has seen the opportunity and he's going to take it. But buying and selling commodities like the hay. If there is somebody selling it cheap, he's going to buy it and he's going to sell it. He is custom farming. He has partners in a feedlot, which he needs to insure. If you have business partners, you need to insure those business partners. What else is he doing? He needs to insure mom and dad. They are key employees. They do have some land. Because of where he's at, he is also taking advantage of land purchases due to water rights, minerals, whatever. So mom and dad bought some land. He is going to buy that land from them when he can do that, which he's hoping in the next 2 to 5 years. So he was going to actually go to the bank and buy the land. And I said, why are you doing that? Why don't you just pay them for it? Like, just pay them. They can take your payment, pay the bank, and then they have a little bit of extra. But let them finance you rather than you go to the bank, pay them, and then they pay capital gains. That doesn't make sense. So I hope that made sense to you guys. So if they're going to make the payment regardless, and then they can just have, a quick deed, name change on the land or whatever, if that's what they want to do. But always think about can we owner finance? Can mom and dad owner finance me? And I make payments to them rather than me going to the bank and buying them out. They get this huge chunk of money. They pay capital gains. They pay all these taxes. And who wins? The government. Another guy he's farming mostly hay and produce, but he was starting a business, which I thought was very interesting. He is starting a business to help market the produce from the surrounding produce growers in his state. So we all know that we're good at farming, right? But the majority of us are not good at marketing. If you're going to grow a product, you need to sell the product. And the produce world is super, super, super hard. People can tell me that corn and wheat and beans and peas are hard. Produce is hard. I have talked to a great number of produce growers. That is not an easy business to be in. And so what this guy is doing is saying, hey, you grow produce, and you grow produce. I will go get a contract with Piggly Wiggly. I will get a contract with Walmart. I will get a contract with a local food co-op. And I will sell to them. You fulfill my contract and I will sell to them. I will help you market your product. Because a lot of produce growers are doing farmers markets, or they're just not big enough to get into a store where if you have one company that has lots of people coming in, they can get into the store, they can fulfill those bigger orders. So that was fun to talk to him because he's got the mindset and the marketing behind it. He's also farming, but he sees the need and he's fulfilling the need by starting a business to do that. So even if you want to farm and you don't farm, you can do things like even me, right? I love the farming industry, but I don't farm yet. It's a story for another day. But that is something that just, if you love that industry, how else can you help the farmers, right? Okay, then I had another lady. This was fun too. We did not actually get to connect on the internet because she was having I had that a lot this week. A lot of internet issues or bad Wi-Fi or whatever. So that does make it challenging if you can't see my screen. But what was fun about her, and she really just had one question, is I have a ranch now, and she's 66. So I have a ranch now, but I want to buy another ranch that has a guest ranch on it, and then I can have people come to the farm, and she can do like farm tours and that sort of thing, which would be absolutely fantastic. I love that stuff. And her question was, if I sell my farm that I have now, should I put it in a policy and then buy the other farm? The answer to her question was no. The reason why is because the farm she's selling is exactly what she needs for a down payment on the other farm, on the new farm. So if she put it in a policy, she's not going to have enough money for the down payment because we don't get access to every dollar we put in right away. So it would have shorted her and she would not have been able to buy this new ranch. So I said, no, that's not going to work. That's a great thought process. And it would work if we had extra, but we don't have any extra. So go buy the ranch, the new ranch. And once you buy the new place and we have income generating from that, from the guest ranch and having people come out and give lessons and whatever, then we are going to take some of that money and put it into a policy. The really interesting thing about her, and I did not know this, but she has Cashmere Goats. So I had fainting goats this week and I had Cashmere Goats this week. I did not know that there were cashmere haired goats. And so she makes yarn out of that and said that a ball of yarn will sell for $90. That's crazy. So she has goats and llamas and... Is it llamas? She has like three things that have long hair. And then they weave them together and make yarn out of them. Exciting. Okay, then my last one. They are farming. He is 59 and a half. They're farming and they have a small business. Their son has decided that he is going to farm with his in-laws and possibly take their stuff over later, but because they're not ready to go, the in-laws' dad he's older, so his son is farming with his dad. But they do have his father-in-law. They have a hog operation together. And so the building is going to be paid off. I think it was this year. Well, they own it 50-50. And the son wants to buy dad's shares. So dad said, we're just trying to settle on a price so he can go get a loan. He said it's going to be paid off. Yeah? Then why don't you just finance him? Why make him go to the bank and get a loan? Why don't you finance him, charge him 5%, and then you're the one that has the money coming in every month? Why give that money to the bank? Right? Someone is going to make interest. Why not be you? Our first thought process is, they have to go to the bank to borrow money to buy us out. Put our banker hat on. Can we finance them? Do we need the money today? If we don't need all the money today to pay off another loan or something, why don't we owner finance them and make the interest? Why are we so willing to let the bank make the interest? It's our own kid. How much risk could there possibly be? And so he's like, he just did not think of that. If you can owner finance people, we know that he's good at keeping books. We know that he's good at running the operation. We know he's good for the payment because we've already been in this 5 to 10 years with him. We know he's not going to just let it default. So something that they had not thought of. The other downside here is that dad is still alive at 90 and this guy's 59 and a half. He is going to have to buy siblings out because he's not getting the land. So we got to buy siblings out. At 60 or 65, if dad lives that long, dad could live to 100 the way it sounds. So he's 70 years old. Guess what? We're going to skip a generation. Because why would dad even want to buy it at 70? The kids, who aren't kids anymore, are getting this land at 70 and 80, and we're seeing a skip in generation. Because they're saying, at 60 and 70, I don't want it. I don't want to have that debt to buy out my siblings. So my kids can do it. Which is not always horrible. It's just that the 60-year-old generation never actually owned anything. And again, not horrible, but something that as a farmer, we want to own something. We want to say that's ours. But when mom and dad aren't passing away till 90 or 100, we most likely are not going to be able to ever say we own something. Okay. Those were this week's meetings. I am much faster at this at 8:15 in the morning. So since I have a little of extra time, I understand, as of yesterday, I understand how you guys feel when you read these books and go, what is she talking about? Everything that I have ever been told about money is not true. What? Cash isn't king? What? And why do I feel that way? Because I have been digging into the regenerative egg world because we bought 160 acres and we have these weeds everywhere, and we ordered a tiller for behind our tractor, and we're going to till, right? We're going to have a garden. We're going to put food plots in, and we're going to do this stuff. And I don't know what got me on this road of regenerative egg. I mean, tons of my clients do it, and I understand it, and I know that it's good. And so I don't remember, though, what made me go down this road. So I've started listening to Gabe Brown's podcasts. Any podcast interview he was on, I downloaded his book. I've been listening to that. And I actually called the dealership yesterday and said, hey, we still don't have our tiller. I don't want it anymore. Do you have a no-till drill that I can get instead? But I'm learning about microorganisms, and frankly, I don't care about microorganisms. It's not something that interests me. I have never been good at science. I've never liked science. I've never been interested in science. Like, it's just something that I know that it's awesome, and I want to learn about how to do it. But now I have to learn about microorganisms so I don't ask 10,000 questions to Gabe and Gabe's son and all these other people who have spent tons of time studying it, and then I just want the free information, which is what people do to me, right? Agents, I just want the free information. Oh my goodness, now I know how you guys feel. Like, my head is spinning. I'm like, how are you supposed to plant a garden if you don't till? Like, who does that? Can you plant a tree without having tilled ground? Wouldn't you want no weeds? I mean, I grew up on an operation where there wasn't a weed in sight. We tilled all the time. We sprayed. We used fertilizer. Like, I have Canadian thistle growing in this new place. It's ridiculous the amount of weeds I have. I'm like, so now I need some pigs or some goats? Maybe I'll buy fainting goats or cashmere goats. But then I would have to learn how to crochet, spin yarn, send it away. I don't think so. Anyway, I now understand how you guys feel. It is overwhelming. Overwhelming. And I have always loved finance. I've always loved money. And I've always, for my entire life, I have read financial stuff. I have listened to Robert Kiyosaki. So when I picked up Nelson's book, this was not like, I didn't have to start from scratch. I didn't have to start from knowing nothing. And it was not that overwhelming to me. This whole regenerative egg thing is seriously overwhelming. Food plots? What kind of seed do you get? What kind of drill do we get? Do we spray the weeds right away in our corral to get rid of them? Because I don't have any animals, and I don't want any animals right now. Telling you guys, telling you, it's a lot. Hey, Darcy, Kind Harvest. Ha! Thanks, I'll check it out. Since I am in the rabbit hole, why not keep digging? I have just known for years that this rotational grazing, like, I get it. It makes 100% sense to me. I've been, 3 years I've been paying attention to it, but I've never actually dug into it. There's a lot. There's a lot. And since Gabe and his son are neighbors to us, literally on the other side of the fence, that's awesome. But they're busy people. They have more to do than answer my stupid questions. I don't remember what the word was yesterday that was used, and I said to my husband, I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? Now I need a dictionary. A science dictionary. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. If you have not gotten any of these books, go to farmingwithoutthebank.com, or you can go to withoutthebank.com, and you can order them there. as Michael said, I do have these in audio. And you can get Nelson's in audio, but you can't get it on my site. You have to go to Nelson's website, which is infinitebanking.org. And you can get the audio for Nelson's book there. But these books you can get on Farming Without the Bank or Without the Bank. And you can get them in audio. And right now, this book is $5.99. Some very crabby, I won't call anybody else's names. Some very crabby lady on Facebook was pissed off because the shipping was more than the book. Well, I am sorry that the book is $6 and the shipping's like $6. That's what we have to pay for shipping. And I eat it. The shipping's actually more than what I charge you guys. We eat the cost of some of that shipping. What do you want me to do? Tell USPS that they should charge less? Or should I mark the book up to $12 and give you free shipping? Come on, people. Good Lord. Get a grip. Clearly, that irritated me. And it does irritate me because people don't think. Think. $5.99 plus shipping. So it's going to be like $12. Otherwise, it's $20 plus shipping. So save yourself some money. Grab the book. It's 93 pages long. And if you want to grab both of them at the same time, mine and Nelson's, do that. If these books, here's the deal. Somebody asked me this the other day too. These books are very, very similar. This book has more in it about the stock market, about funding kids' college. Outside of that, and this book has smaller numbers. Outside of that, they're nearly identical. So you don't need both books. I'm not trying to sell you both books and saying that, this is amazing. If you really believe in the stock market and that's where you're putting a lot of your money, this book is going to be a better option. This one has hardly anything on the stock market. It has a little bit, but it's not nearly as much as this one. And so if you want both, fantastic. I know I have clients that have read both and they love it, but they kind of skim through the second one because it's so similar to the first one. No, nobody should be skimming because the more you listen and read, the more you understand the concept. Just like the more I'm going to listen to Gabe and the more I'm going to read, the more I'm going to understand microorganisms. And plants and seeds and all this other stuff. So just know, you don't need both of them to get started. Now, there's always a package deal. So if you want to add the extra one, great, and give it away as a gift or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. But if you have questions, let me know. And my email is maryjo@withoutthebank.com. And I am happy to answer your questions. Otherwise, you guys have an absolutely fantastic weekend, and we will see you again next week, Friday morning. That seems that these are working out pretty good. So let me know if you need me. I will be here.